Have is obviously your electric panel.
Most important thing to remember is kind of where that is. If you're going to be mounting stuff in the garage, whether it's shelves or whatever the case might be, do know where it is. One thing that you'll find as we progress our way around, a lot of these things will have what we call nail plates. Anywhere that there is a risk, if you put a nail or a screw into the wall that you hit something, you'll have nail plates in place. If you hit one of those, don't get a drill, you know, don't go grab something different to make their way through. Move a little bit and you'll see they're not necessarily huge, but they're definitely in places to where it would save you the problem of running something into something you don't want to hit. So we have your main water service that comes in over there. One thing I'll talk about is these parts that are called quick flashes. It's one of the things that Pulte does. It is not code required. It's one of those things Pulte does because it's better to do the right thing and know that what we have in place won't leak. It's not something you're going to have to worry about 5, 10, 15 years down the road. Those we started with, you'll start to see other builders that are actually using them these days. The house wrap itself, so this material that we have here, is something that Pulte is the only builder in the valley that uses house wrap. This stuff has been used for years in homes in real cold or wet areas. For us, the benefit is again, if we use it on the west or the east coast, why don't we use it on the west coast? So for us, a couple extra dollars for us to put in. But again, if we build you a good house and you're happy with it when everything's said and done, you'll tell friends and family and you'll be happy with the result. You'll also have a house that lasts a heck of a lot longer than what you'd end up getting from other builders, if you wanted to call it that. So this piece of rebar here is actually your ground for your home. You'll have a blank plate in here when we get to the final walk stage. Ultimately, the blank plate is just so the building inspector or a home inspector, if you ever decided to sell the house, can see that we actually have that grounded. Moving over, we have your low volt. So basically, we have your phone and data, as well as a fiber optic run. This kind of cream colored wire is fiber optic from CenturyLink. These two are cable. We have green ground wires that are run into it, so if you get phone or cable service, they don't have to run a ground wire over to your electric panel. They can actually make the ground inside the box.
So is it fiber optic for Cox too, or no?
Fiber optic is only for CenturyLink. Cox does run fiber to the neighborhood, which all things said and done, unless you do nothing but work on the computer with huge file sizes, you won't necessarily notice a big difference between Cox and a direct run to CenturyLink for fiber. But we're ahead of the curve. Normal job sites or communities don't run fiber into the neighborhood. They'll run normal trunk or feed line, and then it's normal to your house. Here, if you compared it apples to apples, Cox in an older neighborhood versus this neighborhood, this will be considerably faster than what you can find in other places. Then we have your gas main. Everything that Pulte does is, if you can imagine, if everything in your house that you could possibly have was running off of gas, this will deal with that plus 20%. Everything we build, we add 20% to. So the structure on the home building code says 90 mile an hour wind load. We'll build to 90 mile an hour wind load plus 20%. So everything we do, to include your roofing felt, code requires 30-pound roof felt. Everybody else in the valley uses 30-pound roof felt. We use 40-pound roof felt. Easier to be ahead of it than it is to be dealing with problems down the road. Okay, as we progress, we have the setup for your tankless water heater. So we've got a few different things here. First off, the drain or the vent, as well as the intake for the air. This is your incoming and outgoing water. This is going to be what we call a temperature and pressure release line. So if the water heater produced too much heat or produced too much pressure, it would release it to the exterior. The white PVC is a condensate line. When you start getting into higher efficiency units, the higher efficiency level, the more it produces condensation. So that is where the condensation will work its way out. Gas main. So this is actually a gas gauge or the gas location for the tankless water heater. The thing with this is this is where we look at it for our gas test. We pressurize all the gas lines in the house to 15 pounds of pressure. Code says it needs to hold 8 pounds of pressure for 10 minutes. We pressurize it to 15 and just leave it. Soft water loop. So soft water loop, the big thing with that is it goes everywhere in your house except it does not go to your outside hose bibs and it does not go to the cold side on your kitchen sink. Reason being is if you install a soft water system, if you got one from us or you do one after the fact, it is salt salt-based system, and we don't want to push salt to all of the locations in the house. You need to have, number one, a source to be able to drink from or cook with, and number two, salt if you used it either to wash your car or to water your plants. It'll kill your plants and it'll leave water spots in your car. So, something to bear in mind.
Got it.
Now, as we work our way in, get your low volt panel. Right now, it's not completely trimmed out. When we see it at the end of the home, you'll have obviously all of your data. You'll have all of your cable. There's a power outlet on the bottom, so if you have a cable modem or a router, you can hide it in the box versus cluttering up a desk somewhere. The fiber optic run comes in up top with an outlet next to it, so if you decided to go with CenturyLink for that product, they offer through the fiber voice, video, and data. So basically it's direct TV, obviously internet, and phone capabilities. Got it. Laundry room, one of your options that's here is you did option for the gas package, so you have your gas stub if you decide to go with a gas dryer, but we also wire it with 220 for an electric dryer, 110 for your gas dryer. All right. Purge line or brine line for your soft water system, obviously hot and cold water for your washing machine. This down here is what we call a clean out. So throughout the house in different locations, because we're on a post-tension foundation, we want to have access for you if you ever had to, if you had a backup or a clog of some sort. We want access points to where you can run a snake through it. Now, it won't be this long when we finish with drywall. Drywall basically land about there. It'll be cut back and you'll have a nice, basically a flat or a domed cap that's over the top of it. As we progress through, you'll see those in other spots, but we try and stick them in places to where you don't have to look at them. Behind the washer or behind the dryer isn't something you're going to end up seeing, but that's what these little stubs that come out of the wall correlate to. All right. You option for a laundry sink. So laundry sink is in. Same basic principle. Now that is actually a drain versus a clean out, but that's where we'll make our tie-in. So, talk about your kitchen. Refrigerator location, one thing to know is the refrigerator water feeds off your cold water on the kitchen sink. So if you option for an RO system with us, you'll have RO system or RO water at the kitchen sink and here. If you didn't, you'll have the non-salted or non-softened water that goes from the kitchen sink to your refrigerator. The nice thing is if you didn't go with an RO system through us and you decide to do some filtration system later, that sleeve or that water line can be connected under the sink, so you do have filtered water in both locations. So coming across, I guess we'll talk a little bit about windows. You'll notice if you look through the window, relatively clear looking there, but when you look through both of them, when they're on top of each other, you kind of get a little bit of a greenish tint to it. So our windows are dual pane glass. We have low E film on one side, and we have what's called cool ray film on the other. One keeps basically heating rays out of your house. The cool ray prevents basically UV rays that cause fading of furniture and carpet and other things along those lines. So the kind of the greenish tint is the cool ray, which also aids in making the house a lot cooler, obviously, as you live here. Arizona, it's relatively important. Okay, so kitchen location, you've got a hood vent, again, all direct vent. Everything that we install in the home vents to the exterior, not circulating back into the interior. You do have a gas box or a gas option for your kitchen. So you will have a box behind the range or basically in a location where that gas connection can be made. And again, we have 220 and 110. So no matter what, if you went with gas with us and you decided to change to electric later, you have the capability of switching to anything it is that you'd probably prefer to use. If you look up, the shiny material on the roof itself is your radiant barrier. It's one of your options as well. Biggest thing that I would say a lot of people don't install is radiant barrier. And if you were to walk, and actually the house next door has it as well, but if you were to step into a house that didn't have radiant barrier, absolute day and night difference. I don't even need to look up to be able to tell the difference between one house and the other with the amount of difference that it actually makes in the cool feel of the home, which is going to save you a good amount of cash through the years when it comes to power bills and everything else that obviously come with owning a home. You have a phone location in the kitchen. Pretty standard. Lots of outlets as we progress our way around. This is where you get your bar cap. Again, more outlets. One of those is a switch actually for your garbage disposal, which will be going in. And you'll notice here, we actually have a drain for your sink, but again, we also have another clean outlet sitting down there. So another spot to make that access to. All right. Head toward our master. So going into the master, there's a couple of things that are going to be slightly different with the master versus all the rest of the rooms in the house. In the master, now number one, you have two AC, what we'll call registers or supplies.
Okay.
Those two are incoming air for your room. Ceiling fan pre-wire, solid brace. So everything that goes in when it comes to fan pre-wires is going to be something that's actually framed in place. It'll take a 75-pound ceiling fan or a 125-pound hanging light. Pretty decent size ceiling fan. You also have 4 can lights, which was your option. They're insulation contact rated can lights, so unlike the rest of the builders, we actually will blow insulation over the top of them. So there's a little thermal switch that's inside of them that if things decided to get too hot, it'll actually turn itself off. Versus the alternative, which, like I said, other builders will put basically a shield around it, insulate everything, but not on top of the can light, in which case you end up with that heat kind of pushing down through the can light. Again, there's no sense in paying for insulation or a higher dollar electric bill if you don't have to. Now, the difference with the master and the other rooms is you actually have an AC return in here. All the other bedrooms have basically an incoming and an outgoing, but don't have a separate AC return. Mathematically, hour for hour, more time is spent in the master bedroom than anywhere else. So that allows us to guarantee that you're going to have good air quality in your master bedroom, as well as good air movement. And it's the air movement that actually makes you feel cool, not necessarily as much as people think the temperature that you set your house for. So between that, and if you install a ceiling fan, you can actually raise the temperature of the thermostat, save money at the same time as still feeling just as cool as you normally would. So we kind of joke that this is your, additional bedroom that comes with the house. It's one heck of a closet.
It's big,
I'd probably end up with about 4 feet on one corner, and the better half would get all the rest of it. You do have a thermostat here, so you have separate locations throughout the house to where you can measure temperature of the air, so your system works as efficiently as it possibly can.
Yeah, I had a question about multi-thermostats. It's one unit, right?
One unit, yes, sir.
So how do they work? So if I change it here, would I change over there, or?
Well, technically what you have is you have one thermostat, and you'll have what are called slaves to that thermostat. These are actually remote sensors in theory, tied to your thermostat, but the difference is the way that it's built in the attic space is, especially with the size of the house and the fact that it's sprawled out, you may have the perfect temperature right where the main thermostat is, but it may be getting warmer on this side of the house or vice versa. This tells the system, number one, to turn on, and number two, to push the air this direction. So if all of the thermostats are saying the same temperature, it works just like any other AC system. If this one says that this side of the house is hotter and that side's cooler, it's going to push the air this direction. It's not going to push the air to the opposite side of the house itself. Now, in here, really not a whole heck of a lot that's out of the ordinary. We do have 2 light locations that obviously you'll have lights in. You have the door for the closet. We progress our way through into the master bathroom. We've got a handful of things in here. First off, water closet and linen closet. Exhaust fans, again, vent directly out. This exhaust fan is a 100 cubic foot per minute exhaust fan. This will tie in when we look at your main AC return. This actually will turn itself on and off on its own. So it is programmed when you get it to run for a certain amount of time for every hour. With as tight as your house will end up being with foam seal, the type of windows that we use, and the processes that we take, if you closed this house up and didn't open doors or windows, you actually would have air quality that starts to drop off because you're not getting fresh air in the home. So our fix for that is this will turn itself on X amount of minutes per hour. It builds a negative pressure. When we look at the main AC return itself, that'll actually allow fresh air in from the outside, which takes the negative pressure and balances it out, so you stay a good pressure in the home. But what you end up with is we will actually turn the air in the house 3 times a day. So ultimately you end up with a good air quality in the home, but you don't end up drawing in hot air because it comes in through your AC return. Master vanity, dual lavs, his and hers if you wanted to call it that. Medicine cabinet, dual vanities, AC register in here, obviously can light. You option for your shower. So one of the things that we do as we progress through to make sure that we get your house built right, you've probably noticed that there's pink paint or dots if you look around all over the place. little things that we find that are incorrect, like you'll see here, we'll mark up, basically saying, in this case, we wanted more blocks installed, and we also wanted the tape installed on the shower pan. So, if you look, what we have in place here is what's called a butyl tape. So one of the hardest things for homeowners to stay on top of, myself included, is caulking through the years. And caulking where your panels meet your shower pan tends to be one of the first places that it goes bad. So caulking being homeowner maintenance, and everybody I know neglecting it probably more than they should. If water did get inside there, what this does for us is, number one, it allows water, if it was to really fill it up, to be able to go a whole lot higher than just to the top of the pan where it would risk rolling into the wall. The other thing we have in place are these little channels here that are called weep holes. So when that panel goes down on top of that, you're actually going to have a little hole there. So if water did get in behind it, that water will roll its way around to both outside corners and then back into the shower pan versus going into the wall. It lowers mold risk, it lowers risk for a whole lot of things that you would have if you didn't allow everything to go out versus stay stuck inside of it. And again, that's just another one of those Pulte type things that we do to make sure that through the years it keeps performing when I guess most others may potentially not. I'm not saying that they won't, but it's, again, lots of little things kind of add up over time, which for me, something I find exciting is I do genuinely believe we build a much higher quality home than what others do. And I tell everybody that I deal with at this stage, if you get a moment, stop in at other builders, peek at what it is that they're building, and you'll, without a doubt, within 2 minutes of being in the house, you will see the difference of some of the stuff we talked about versus what everybody else ends up doing. Ultimately in here, not a whole heck of a lot.
Linen closet?
Another closet, yes sir. I think we've covered most of it. One thing I did not touch on, while we were in the master bedroom, which will be similar with all of the bedrooms, is all of the bedrooms have a smoke detector.
This one here?
The blue box will be your smoke detector. So all bedrooms have smoke detectors. All hallways have smoke detector and carbon monoxide detector combined together. Reason for that is in your attic space, you have an air handler, but for heat, we don't use a heat pump or a reverse cycle on your AC. We actually use a furnace system. So if you're going to have those gases that are not good for us, and they're heavy gases, odds are it's going to occur from up top or up high, where it has to settle past those so it can actually alert you. A lot of other folks, if you buy them at Home Depot or Lowe's, they say to set them down low. If you had a furnace that was inside the house, it might be a different story, but in our sense, or in our case, that's where it's going to come from, and by putting them up high keeps everybody a whole lot safer. So, cafe, you've got 4 cans that went into the cafe. We do have a J box, which is one of your options. The reason that the boot for your AC system is sitting up there is our rule is can lights always take priority. So that was obviously installed where one of these can lights went. It's easier for me to have them move an AC register and to still get the air in the room than it is to explain to you later on down the road why all the can lights look good except this one's, not lined up, or we ended up having to move them. While we're looking up here, one other thing you'll see is those 2 holes through your roof deck with the black paper over them. Those are actually called roof vents. So as your house heats up during the summer, you have low vents, which will pull in cooler air, and you'll have high vents, and we'll see if we can find any. You do have gable vents you can see at the end, but the concept is that your hot air is going to rise, so it's going to pull in cooler from the bottom and evacuate hotter as you get higher up into the house itself.
Got it.
All right. Windows, again, something we do a lot different than others. We set our windows not only with what we call a wet set, so there's caulking behind them when they actually, or sealant behind them when they actually get set onto the framing, but we also use what's called a sill pan, which is this plastic pan, because if windows leak, either it's going to leak from the outside, in which case it's going to come under the frame, which is the reasoning that we put what we call a water dam here, so you'd have to get 6 inches worth of water in there before it decided to come in, which we generally don't have water issues in Arizona. But the other thing that does tend to happen is if you have a driving rain that's actually hitting your window and blowing it against the window and it's rolling down into this track, you do have what are called weep holes on the outside. So you'll have holes where the water actually makes it into the track, can make its way outside.
Got it.
But if there's so much rain hitting this window at the same time that it's filling your track faster than it can get out, every now and then you may have it fill the track and work its way in. Well, with this there, the worst case scenario you're going to ever run into is you may have a little wet drywall, may need a little paint touch up, but it's not going to, again, make its way down inside your wall. So ultimately, we're looking at ease of repairs or ease of dealing with things that will happen no matter who you go with or where you live, where that makes it a heck of a lot easier to actually remedy it down the road if something was to happen.
Right.
Over here, you have the option for, it's with your gas package, you have your barbecue stub out.
Okay.
Now I know the option that you probably signed for said 1/2 inch gas line, it's 3/4 that we stub out. Generally it will work almost anything that you can put out there within reason. A grill and a side burner will work just fine, but if you did a grill, a side burner, and like a barbecue pit, you probably wouldn't get 100% performance out of all three of them. A grill and a side burner, just fine, or 2 appliances, but as you start to go beyond that, you might want to consider pulling an extra line from the front yard based upon what services it is that you're looking for. Now, this is going to be the wire for your AC system. We pulled it through, so as they're finishing up the lath product, which is on the outside, they don't end up stapling it. We'll end up running this guy back out through there after they finish what it is that they're doing on the outside. AC line set, we try and put it as far away from living space as possible because you will always have some noise that you'll hear from an AC system. But what I highly recommend, since this is a location where you'll be putting a TV, one of your options for a flat panel, please make sure that you use a stud finder when you attach or mount that bracket for your TV, because you definitely don't want to hit either one of your line sets. Right. Now there should be, based upon most TVs, even if you went with a small guy, you've got 2, anything bigger, and you've got all 4 locations to actually mount into. So you have cable coming down below. The other thing you have is what's called a power bridge. So this was one of your options. This will be the recessed outlet for the TV. And then this is what we call a Smurf tube. So ultimately, I'm happy when people get to see it. We do have fish line in here. When you see it the next time, or even when you move in, if you're installing your TV, we ask them to fill this tube with insulation. So the whole wall is going to be filled as well as this tube. My recommendation, figure out all the wires you need before you pull them, tie them on, pull it through, but leave the insulation in place, because obviously you wouldn't want a 2-inch or a 2.5 inch void in insulation in your living area.
Got it. This is also power outlet here?
Actually, what that is, this is the bottom of your Smurf tube on this side. This is your cable. This is the bottom end of your power bridge, and this is a power outlet here. Got it. Because the power bridge will pull power off of this, and then everything else you have is all, again, right in that one location. Got it. Ceiling fan pre-wire, AC registers, 2 of them, 4 can lights, which is your option. The white PVC going across the top are actually what we call condensate lines. So those lines that come across the top, they move over farther and down your house. You'll have 2 here. There'll be 2 more that you'll see over windows as we move down. Those are when your AC system actually runs. What will end up happening is your system itself will produce condensation. Again, we talked about efficiency, as well as the fact that as humidity rises in your home, you're going to pull the humidity out of the air with the AC system. So the 2, and you can kind of see the 2 quick flashes, the blue things down there, those down there will drip. Business as usual. If those clog up, it'll actually drip from what we call the secondaries, because if you look up at your AC unit, or AC units, you'll see that there's a pan that's underneath it. If condensation can't run down the primary pipe, the condensation will actually run out into that catch pan and then run out of the house. If that second line clogs, the next place it runs out is generally into the ceiling. So homeowner maintenance is something that is required. We'll talk about this again on the walkthrough, just so that you know what steps you can take to make that a whole lot easier to actually do what it is that needs to be done, keeping the house in good shape.
Got it. So that's the AC, that's the furnace?
No, they're both AC units that work together, and they both have a furnace unit in it. You can see we have gas run to both of them, but they do work collectively. So when we revisit and everything's started up and ready to go, I'll explain to you how they function and how you can set them up to where you're using as little power as possible, but still keeping your house as good feeling or as cool as you'd probably want it to be.
Got it. So 2 units.
Yes. Now, your den, ceiling fan pre-wire,
Yep.
4 can lights. You don't have a door on the den, so we don't have 2 things in here. One, you don't have a smoke detector in there because without a door, it's not considered living quarters, so there'd be no reason that you'd be required to have it. The other thing that you don't have in here that you'll have in all the rest of the bedrooms are what we call a jumper duct. And I can point to one right here at the end of the hall. So this duct, if you can imagine, this duct literally just goes up and over the wall. You can see the other end of it sitting right there that we pulled out so that we could get the can light in place. If you've ever lived in a house to where when the AC turns on, you get either the doors being sucked shut or air movement underneath those doors, that prevents it, because door open or door closed, that room can still breathe with the whole rest of the house. So air comes in and goes out at an equal pace. It also allows us to balance it so that you don't end up with a room that when the door is open it feels good, and when the door is closed it ends up getting hotter or colder based upon what time of year it is. Now, since we walked past, this is your main AC return.
Okay.
So what you'll notice is up inside there we have the big duct that's actually coming in, which is your return. We also have that small hole on the left hand side. That's actually for that fresh air intake that we talked about in your master bathroom. That builds the negative pressure, that builds the positive pressure. We won't be able to see this again at the walkthrough, but there will be a filter that fills that little door, that little opening that's there.
Got it.
Just like any other normal AC filter, but something that you'll want to change maybe 3 or 4 times a year, just kind of keep the air coming in clean, even though when it comes in it is going to be filtered again with the normal whole house filter that you'd have on the AC system itself.
Got it.
Okay, hall bath, dual vanities, so you've got plumbing for both locations, medicine cabinet. You'll also find that everywhere we mount anything, so in this case it's going to be a towel ring, we put solid backing. Not something that's required, but do you have any kids?
Not yet.
Not yet. Well, if you end up with kids, they love to grab onto stuff and tug and pull. If that was set just in drywall, good chance stuff would come down. Right here is going to be where a towel bar goes.
Okay.
So you have that, again, all solid backing. 1-piece tub shower combo. Unlike the master, the nice thing about this one is there is no caulking required at all. What you see right now, even where these panels come together, are all 100% waterproof. So the way they interlock with the tub itself ends up being something that all that stuff will evacuate back into the tub if you ended up with some sort of water intrusion issue. The other thing, we do a little different insulation behind the tub itself. You'll notice we have batt insulation behind it. We insulate everything else in your house with wet spray cellulose. The reason we put those in there, number 1, it's more moisture resistant. Number 2, I can guarantee that we actually have insulation behind that tub. If you did ground cellulose back there, you may end up with an air pocket. Looks like it's all in place. 6-8 months down the road it decides to settle, and then you end up with hot spots behind your tub that really nobody wants to have that as an issue. Again, saving a couple of dollars when it comes to how the house itself actually works for you. So, second bedroom, we've got the closet, we've got smoke detector, option for 4 cans, incoming AC, and then your jumper duct, which is sitting up there out of the way. 4 switches, so every single room that you have or bedroom that you have in the house is going to have 4 switches, at least with the options you've chosen. The first one is for a half-hot outlet, so it's one that's switched for, let's say, a bedside lamp or anything else. The second one that would be about here is going to be for your can lights, and the last 2 are for your ceiling fan pre-wire. 1 for the light, 1 for the fan.
Got it.
So all of them will have those same setups.
Okay.
All right. So in here, ceiling fan pre-wire, 4 can lights. One thing I will point out, we do try real hard to get measurements right on can lights, but some of them may be off just a little bit, because I'd prefer to leave the trusses there and move the cans just a little bit and have you understand it at this stage than us looking at it down the road and you question why it might not be a little bit more that way or a little bit more that way. So we don't want to cut framing to put them in, but we try our best to get everything to actually line up as mathematically perfect as we possibly can.
Sure.
Okay. Now back in here, another bedroom. The one thing you'll have different in this bedroom versus the others is this one does not have the can light option, so you have 3 switches. 1 for the half hot, which is that outlet, and then the 2 for the ceiling fan pre-wire that you chose. Now you've got a jumper duct in here, AC register, and a nice walk-in closet. One other thing that's in here that you have only one other of in the house is what we call a scuttle hole. It's access up into the attic.
Okay.
We can insulate this portion of the house after all the drywall's up and everything else. Now, we'll talk about what this material is, which is called thermoply.
Okay.
So if you can see outside, the elevation on your house makes the wall extremely deep.
Right.
Obviously, you wouldn't want to pay to insulate all of that because it's really not going to do you any good. This material is designed for one reason, and it's to basically contain insulation. So it's airtight. When everything's said and done, even every one of the seams that are in it will end up having expanding foam shot into them. So it holds all the air and does not require you to fill that whole bay with insulation. Biggest rule with insulation is if any air moves through the insulation at all, it doesn't insulate. It's basically just an expensive air filter. So by us utilizing this product the way that we do, you actually end up with it insulating versus what you'd end up getting if there were nooks and crannies or holes, or if they put bad insulation and just tacked it between the studs, which some companies will do. We want to contain all of it in what we'll call a 6-sided box. So top, bottom, left, right, back, and then the front will be your drywall. Now, one thing that we have not done yet, but we'll be doing this week, is we come through and do what's called straight lining all your walls. So you can see some of the studs aren't necessarily perfectly straight. It's lumber, it happens. But what we'll end up doing is taking big 8-foot straight edges, putting them up against the wall. Let's say this one's high. If this one's high, we're going to plane it down. If this one theoretically would be low, we're actually going to shim it out. So when drywall does go in, you get nice, flat, straight drywall, not only on the walls, but on your ceilings as well. So if you come back, let's say this weekend, you'll probably end up seeing that we've got studs that have been cut. You'll have wooden framing around all of the AC registers and jumper ducts that basically hold them all in place. So when we put grills up on them, number one, they have something to screw into, and number two, they're not rattling around or moving as you obviously live in the house.
Right.
So I guess as the overview, anything we haven't talked about that you're curious about? Any questions that you may have?
Oh yeah. So far as carpet and tile goes, right on top of the concrete, or
it will. Well, okay. So tile will go right on top of the concrete.
Yeah.
The carpet's going to go obviously on top of your pad. I don't know if we have any in here that I can point out. There may be some pock marks or divots in the concrete.
Yeah. So the pad goes on right on top of the concrete.
Correct.
No wood, plywood, nothing.
Nothing underneath it. No. With the type of slab that we have, with it being post-tension, it's not going to move. Concrete may crack, but you're not going to end up with it displacing or separating. So you'll get glue that'll go down first, then they'll put the pad down, and then on top of that will be your carpet. Good. Any little divots that you have from when they were framing and they nailed up supports to hold all the walls in place, those for tile will get filled with thin set. For carpet areas, they'll get filled with basically an Ardex, a really hard concrete that fills those little divots and dings. Tile will come first. Carpet will come real close to the end of the process. Again, kind of like we were talking about on the email with the screens. Yeah. You will have screens, but I don't want to put in stuff early that could get damaged because either you won't be happy with it or I end up having to replace it, neither of which is a good example or a good logical process. So your screens will probably be here maybe a week or so before we walk the house, and carpet will go in maybe 2 weeks or so before we walk the house. But it actually won't be, it won't be all that far out. Once we pass our frame inspection this week, you'll see insulation, and then basically when drywall gets in the house and hung, I'll be able to give you guys your walk date and your close date, so you have as much time possible to plan for it, lock in interest rates or whatever else it is that you may end up having to do.
Sure.
So anything else that you can think of that were big concerns now that we're here looking at it and talking about it?
No, everything looks good.
Yeah, it's actually gone, to be perfectly honest with you, it's gone really well. And hers has actually gone really fast, all things considered. I hate to say it and don't tell your neighbors, but you're actually a little ahead of schedule versus where you probably should be. Really? This would be, we would probably, per the schedule, probably be about another week before we made it to this stage. So we've gotten lucky with the fact that everybody has shown up a little early. We'll do what we call frame pickup tomorrow. We'll finish the lath. You can see the wire that's on here. That will be finished today, as well as tomorrow morning. And tomorrow is Wednesday, so we'll go for a frame inspection on Thursday. We'll probably, if all things go well, have insulation on Friday. Worst case, we'll have insulation on Monday. So it won't be too long until we end up getting to the point where it's starting to actually look like a home. Sure. Now, options-wise, was there anything that we didn't touch on? And I'll pull up what we have. Make sure that you would agree with what we have installed, if you know what I mean.
So here in the den, that red cable is my Ethernet line, right?
Correct. Yes, sir.
And they will put one in the water closet in master bathroom, right?
Yes.
Later.
Now, what we do is at this stage, basically what we're doing is where we stand, we let everybody go through, do their thing. Once they're done doing all of their work, each and every individual superintendent comes back through and they'll report to me, okay, everything's there, it's been walked, everything is the way it should be. At that point will be when I come through after the framers, I look at all the walls to make sure they're straight lined correctly. I go through all the options, make sure that if there was anything that you wanted modified or adjusted or moved, that we kind of can do that type of stuff. Speaking of the one you're questioning, do you have a specific location you'd rather have it? So you can show me and I'll make it as close to that as humanly possible.
Sure. So the toilet will go right here. So just anywhere, like either this side or behind it.
Okay. What about possibly back over here? That way you're not fighting for space with it? Is there a height that you'd prefer it at?
What's the normal height?
Well, normal height, let's see if I can point one out to you. It's about 16 inches off the floor, so you usually end up being about there.
Perfect.
Okay, perfect.
Oh yeah, and I had a question about the can lights up in the dining cafe.
Sure.
Was there a reason why it's not more scattered out?
Well, what they tend to do is, now what we can do is we can pull them this direction.
Okay.
There's a standard location for this that they tend to work with. Now, if you want to move, I can gladly adjust these for you, but they tend to work off of that and center things around it. Now, with this one, if you'd rather have it farther out, I can move this guy out, and then I can move these two can lights that direction as well. They work off, this is why these types of meetings are good for us.
Right.
And if you want to think about it and get back to me, I'm fine with that too. But they'll work off what we'll call a standard location.
Okay.
And if we do need to make adjustments to make you happy when everything's said and done, we absolutely can.
Is this a perfect square or a rectangle?
It's a rectangle.
Rectangle.
So yeah.
This side is longer, right?
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
The reason they tend to hold back a little bit, if you can imagine where this line is, this is the edge of that wall.
Yeah.
So they take math off of that. They do hold off a little bit from this side because they don't want it to encroach too close to this. But again, I'm happy to put it wherever it is that you would like it, so that when we're said and done, you guys are happy.
Yep.
I'm not living here, it's going to be you guys, so I don't mind making modifications if that's something that's going to make you smile when everything's said and done. What
will be the exact center between that line and this wall?
Without my tape measure, I can't tell you 100% for sure, but I'm going to guess it is
right
probably
there somewhere.
Probably about here.
Yeah.
So I could move the J box to the center and then move these two can lights mathematically the same as those, that direction. So it spreads out over this open area if you like.
Yeah, I'll get back to you on that.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, you tell me and I'll gladly do it.
Okay.
I mean, at least we've talked about it. Like, if you say you do want them centered up, I'll start with the J box and then I'll work everything else around it.
Sure.
Trying to think what other big ones we may have walked past and not talked about. We do have the den, we have the 5th bedroom.
Oh, before you came in, there was a plumbing guy here, so he had to move all that, redo the thing. They're too close to up here in the kitchen. Okay. Yeah, because it was too close to the can lights.
Oh, to the can light. That's for code reasons. And the reason is can lights will get warm. We don't want cold water. Well, hot water really doesn't matter, but we don't want cold water being too close to that can light because your can light will heat up that water, and we'd rather keep it as cold as we possibly can.
Right.
Let's see.
And where's the access to the attic?
The attic access itself is going to be right over here. So So this is the main attic access. We try and put them in places where not a lot of people are going to be seeing them.
Okay.
So if you went up top, you'll see there's a catwalk on the far side. There's a light switch and a power outlet that's going to be up top. Those two allow you to actually work up there if you needed to. We don't recommend storing anything up there because with as hot as it will get in your attic, even with radiant barrier, not much is going to last all that long in that attic space. But that's the main attic access, and like I said, it's put there just because you don't want to have to look at it if you don't need to.
Got it.
I'm trying to see, you had the extension at the rear of the home, so you can see how that pushed that back. You do have, we can peek at it through here. You do have your breezeway, which you will end up getting a gate for. Has the second doorbell that goes all the way up front as well, so that you can bring it from outside the gate versus not. Soft water we talked about. Gas stub and outlet package we talked about. Sink pre-plumb was for your laundry. We saw that. You did get an RO system from us, so that will end up being installed. I don't think, other than the upgraded electric package, which is where the can lights and all that good stuff came from. The outlet we were waiting to talk about. Pre-wire light with switch would be the one that we have back there.
Okay, so tankless water, it's gas, right? Not
gas, tankless water here, yes sir.
Got it.
It's probably one of the best options you could, well, and it's not even an option these days. When I bought my Pulte home, it was an option. At this point, they come standard. They're ridiculously quiet, and the nice thing is you will never run out of hot water. It's a slick option and saves you more money because tanked water heaters heat the water even if you don't need it. When it cools back down, it just continues to heat it, where yours will only heat it when it is that you tell it you need hot water. And I think that's all of the big stuff that I've seen, at least when it comes to options that we would be able to see right now, other than obviously your local. But we've confirmed that because you had the optional one in the den, as well as the stuff that would be in your standard locations throughout the house. But like I said, it's actually going really well. It's kind of nice when you get houses that click along. You don't have big issues with. There tends to not be. We haven't had, and I better knock on wood, haven't had anything too wild and crazy happen with it at all. Like I said, guys have been running in and out of here. It's gone well. It's gone well. I'm glad you're asking questions too, because have you met your neighbors, or at least had a chance?
I've met this neighbor.
Okay. You've got a bunch of good neighbors around you. I haven't met a single one of them yet that I think would be bad neighbors. Those folks seem really nice. I haven't met them in person. We've done a lot of stuff over the phone, but I know when I finally called them the other day, just to kind of follow up on an email I'd sent them, they had a whole lot of questions. So I'm glad you emailed, because as we go through this, it's a lot easier for you to know than it is for you to worry about stuff. Kind of like we talked about in the beginning. I'd rather you ask the questions than sit here worrying something either isn't going right or why are they doing it like this. So I'm glad you do. Please continue. Forgive my odd hours of replying, because my days are sometimes a little bit hectic, but I do my best to try and always get back to you guys. But when you see it now, if you guys come out this weekend, what you'll see is you'll see the pickup work has been done. So you'll see a slight difference. The house will be spotless because as we have guys run through, everybody's going to do something. We try and get it clean, but framers will be our last cleanup prior to our inspection. And then from there on out, it pretty much stays relatively clean throughout the entire rest of the process. After insulation, oddly, the whole house will get vacuumed as well. So you'll see it after the insulation, just spotless floors. When we get into drywall, the floor will be really disgusting. Drywall mud and stuff all over the place. But we'll go through, hose it all down actually, and then scrape all of the floors out so that you end up with nice clean house. I'm not okay with people covering trash up or trying to cover stuff up with other parts and pieces. So you'll see as we start getting into finished products, there'll be a lot of differences from what you'd see from the rough stage moving forward. So, but yeah, it's actually gone really well. I wish they all would. Haven't really missed a beat. I know the electricians will be here. I think they're going to be here tomorrow morning with the framers. Plumber obviously has walked it and already had his guy over here for pickup work. Framers, electrician, low volt company will come through and vet their work. Roofer will be back. I'll walk the roof with the roofer. And then the only other person will be what we call foam seal. So we'll have the insulation company come through. And any penetration that goes through top plates, and to include everything all the way along the bottoms of the wall will all be foam sealed. So right now, if you peek down through here, you can see a little bit of daylight.
Yeah.
We're going to foam seal all of that all the way around the house. Number one, it prevents critters, bugs and stuff from making their way in. The other thing is, obviously, we talked about insulation. We don't want air moving through it.
Right.
So by air sealing the bottoms and the tops, you won't end up with any air movement as those walls start to heat up. So I think you'll be happy with it, to tell you the truth.
Sure. Oh yeah. As far as plywood, what's the reason behind it where not every wall is plywood?
The plywood is put in per call out by the engineer. So if we used an example, if we took a line of studs on a wall, we'll use this one for the sake of the description. You can imagine dominoes. If I pushed on the top of one of them, all of them would want to rack or fall over. So plywood, or technically what it is called is a shear panel, that stiffens that wall left to right. So if we had wind load that was pushing against the house, whether it's from that outside wall, obviously this one it wouldn't really be able to do it, but it stiffens the house and prevents that house from wanting to rack one direction or the other. So all the different locations that you see it are to strengthen the home. Even like this wall that's on the back of the master closet and bedroom, that's again a shear wall. So the logic behind this, and if you look at it from this side, it'll probably get a little bit more understanding. This wall stiffens this back portion of the house. So you can see we've got big hardware basically holding down. So it ties. There's also one on the outside of the house on that corner.
Got it.
That ties all of this together, and then we put the plywood all the way up to the roof deck. So any wind load or forces toward the rear of the home get transferred basically from the roof or from the walls down through this wall and into the concrete. So you don't have stuff moving. Now we know the house is going to settle. So in the first year, some things are going to move, but they're going to move because they're drying out or kind of finding where they want to be. This prevents everything from actually moving. So you've got left and right, you have additional on the back here. But if you peek throughout the house, you'll have some designed from front to back and some designed from left to right. But that's all per where the engineer tells us it is that that we have to have it.
Okay.
So yeah, they don't fully wrap houses with plywood here in Arizona. I guess like I was used to seeing in different parts throughout the U.S.
Right.
Just a different building style, because we have no tornadoes, we have no hurricanes, we have no blizzards, no earthquakes. There's a lot less that we have to worry about here versus other places in the U.S. where obviously they have to do stuff a little different just to make sure that they keep up with building codes. So
that makes sense now.
yeah, it just kind of all ties it together. But those are inspection items. Obviously that, not only that, but even the way that it's nailed off on the other side relates to what the engineer draws up for us. So what we have here is nailing patterns that go down the edges, as well as what we call nailing in the field. So as we start getting into vertical studs in the middle, they'll have a different spacing than what they'll have on the outside edges, which again is how that's supposed to perform for what it is that the engineer tells us he wants done. So, but yeah, anything else you're curious about?
No, that's it.
Well, I do appreciate you coming out.
Yeah.
I appreciate you being able to take time to actually do it, because this one for me is probably more important, well, not more important than the final walkthrough, but it's always nice to actually be able to see it before we start covering stuff up. Do you get to look at it every week you come out?
I try to every weekend.
Yeah. You work near here, or?
No, I work in Palm Hills.
Oh,
I live in Mesa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bit of a drive at least for today.
Yeah.
What do you do?
I'm a golf pro. I teach golf.
Not bad. Maybe we should get together, because I can use some help.
Sure.
I've played a whole lot, but had a horrible slice, and for the life of me cannot seem to. And it's only with my driver.
Is it?
Yeah, my irons. Matter of fact, I'd almost rather play with just irons, because I cannot seem to figure out what the heck is causing my driver to do its thing. But it sounds like actually quite a fun job, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, it is.
How'd you get into it? Just played for years?
Played since
school? Or?
High school.
Okay.
Yeah.
So obviously you must be pretty good at it.
Yeah.
I wish I could say the same thing. It's a frustrating. It can be a frustrating sport. I compete in a sport myself that on good days things really makes it all worthwhile.
Right.
Bad days, not so much. But yeah, I appreciate you making the time. I really do. Hopefully we didn't pull you out any lessons or anything that cost you any money.
Today was day off.
Oh, even better.
Yeah.
Well, I know it was a little early, but as things go, I'm sure you'll see that as we've gone through, you probably, like I said, you see our notes and things like that show at least that we're in here. So I hope you realize that even if you don't see it before we get through to insulation, that I'll be stud by stud by stud through the entire house. We'll make sure we get it right. We'll get your outlet put in there, and then if you call me or email me where you want those, or if you want them moved or whatever else, I'll absolutely do it.
All right.
And then if you talk to the wife and there's anything else that maybe you didn't see or you'd like to have adjusted, let me know and I'll have that taken care of.
Sure.
Right on. Well, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.